All right, so next we're going to be installing an exterior door, one with a metal threshold built into the bottom that's made just for exterior use. So first and foremost, make sure your door will fit your opening. Get the concrete nice and clean where the threshold is going to go, because we're going to put down some really good quality silicone right here. So now what I'm going to do is run 2 really thick beads of a good quality silicone down here where the threshold goes. In a home, not only does this help air seal the bottom threshold, but out here in the shop, this keeps ants, roaches, other things like that from coming underneath that bottom plate. Now you can put as much or as little as you would like with this. Just keep it nice and thick so it can press down. So one other really important note to mention, before you install your door, there's usually a plug in these doors, as you can see right here, and that keeps the door from swinging open for shipping. But if you install your door, especially with this nut on this side, well, you're in trouble. You'll have to pull the whole door back out, and you may have already nailed it and sealed it in by the time you discover that. So let's take this nut off of this side, and then we can pull the plug out right through the hole once we install this. All right, now we'll lift the door up and install it straight down onto those beads of silicone that we just placed. Now you can take that plug out of the door right here, swing the door to the inside, and the weight of the door going to the inside will keep it from falling back out while you get your tools and other things ready. Now we'll go around the door, check for plumb and level. This is a good time to make any adjustments. Plus you can go to the inside of the door frame, depending on how you were framed out. If there's a lot of gap, you can work from one side to the other. Now this is an older door, so you're going to see a lot of rust and stuff here, but a lot of these door manufacturers will actually leave an open hole like that right there. And this is where I like to put a 3-inch long screw. We'll do that right here as well. And then on this side of the frame, I like to pull back the actual weather stripping, the seal, and we'll put screws through every so often in here. This is also a good time to come behind the frame and check your gap on either side of the door. As you see, we got a much bigger gap on this side, so we're going to continue to work the door this way. So we'll just put those screws in those spots I just showed you loosely, and then we'll put wedges behind the door and get everything nice and shored up. All right, so now I'll drive a few deck screws in those open holes that I showed you. Plus, we already know we need to pull the door this direction anyways. I should also mention you could put a bead of caulk behind this brick molding against the wall. I'm actually going to caulk the outside and then do a house wrap seal, a double seal from the outside edges as well as the top. But you could do a third seal if you wanted to with a bead of caulk behind the door. Now over here on this side, I'll pull that weather stripping back, shoot a screw in like I showed you, and that hides the screw. And periodically, we'll just go around and check for plumb. All right, so once we get the door where we like it, we can adjust it left or right again by loosening screws on one side, tightening on the other, and shifting the gap that's all the way around the door frame itself. The next thing we're going to work on is called the reveal. And essentially what that is, that's the gap in between the outside edge of the door and the door frame itself. Because the door frame is very loose, this can flex in and out easily. And how we're going to adjust that is by using wood wedges. We can work those in behind the door frame, working that reveal and getting a perfect gap all the way up and down. And we'll do that on both sides. So especially where we run screws through, like where these hinges are over here, I like to put wedges in behind those hinges, so as you tighten that screw down, you're not bowing the frame out or shifting the door. The wedges are there to kind of push back against the 2x4 and the door frame itself. So this is kind of a slow, tedious process. You may have to use wedges in multiple places to work the door frame in and out to kind of take any bows or odd looks and gaps out of it. So take your time with this process. All right, so now I'll start putting my wedges in behind the door. You can use a single wedge, you can cut it down and use a wider portion. You can flip one wedge around and work 2 opposite directions like this to make a really thick gap close up. Or you can just double them up like this And as I work in behind that door frame, I'm going to constantly close the door, and I'm checking this gap right here, top to bottom. See, we're wider at the bottom than we are at the top, so we're not going to close the top end much more than that, and we're going to try to work the bottom itself in. Now, when you have your wedges where you want them, I like to take a 16 gauge brad nailer, shoot through the door frame, through the wedges into the 2x4, holding these in place so they can't fall back out as we kind of continue to tighten and loosen everything. And y'all know one of my favorite tools is this DeWalt oscillating tool. It's excellent for trimming these off really quickly. Now those wedges are nice and flush with the door right there and these 2x4s, and you can trim it out later if you want. And we can reuse these wedges. All right, so we're not going to be installing door hardware in this particular episode, but right here where your mounting plates go to where your latch sets go in, throw away the factory screws that come with those little kits, the little tiny short ones that do nothing more than go into the actual door frame itself. If someone were to come up and try to kick the door in, you're expecting little 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch screws and a very soft door frame to keep someone from kicking the door in. Well, guess what? It's going to come flying open. Instead, use the factory plates that come with your lock sets and put at a minimum number 9 3-inch screws. I personally prefer number 10 4-inch screws, and go through your locking plates right here, and this will allow you to tie in to these double 2x4s that are always behind the door frame itself. That'll make your plate so much stronger using a much beefier screw that's actually in some solid wood. Now, as far as outside around the outer edge of the door goes, use a really good quality caulk. I like to use one that has a little bit of flexible silicone mixture in it, and we're going to seal this off to the house wrap itself. So next, I like to take some of the house wrap tape, or you can use flashing tape here, and I like to attach to the house wrap itself and actually lip a little bit over the top of the door frame, basically building kind of a bent shingle or an L-shaped effect. So again, if water gets behind the house wrap and runs down, it's going to come on the top side of this tape, and then it's going to be directed to go over the door frame, which is now caulked, and then we're building basically this little dam right here, and it's going to run out down the front of the door or continue to travel out and down the wall. You can also cut and put a little lip here, just like I did with the windows with the house wrap, but because there's not an actual nailing flange on the door, I tend to just kind of do the build the dam effect with the tape itself. So now you can see what I've done. I've stuck the tape to the house wrap, I've actually flared it out, and I have stuck it to the top of the trim, which is also caulked in, and we can continue to do this all the way around the door. So we're getting a double seal here. But if rain were to come running down this, well, it's just going to glance right off and not work its way in behind the frame. While we're caulking and sealing everything up, this is also a good time to go ahead and pop in some brad nails through your brick molding. This isn't necessarily holding the door as much as it's keeping the brick molding sealed and not allowing it to flex and crack that caulk that we just put in. And lastly, to finish off the install of your door, any gaps that you see around, you need to put expanding foam in, and that'll actually air seal as well as keep bugs and other things out. As with most things in life, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this, but this is the way that I install windows and doors. It seems to provide good leak protection, especially doing the extra flaps and additional sealing that we're doing, as well as it'll keep, again, your home more energy efficient and those bugs and rodents out that you don't want in. We'll catch you on the next video to where on this shop we're going to be installing trim and then hardy board siding.